May 5th, 1945. Hacksaw Ridge, Okinawa. The plateau was supposed to be secured by noon. It was now 1900 hours, and American forces were being torn apart. Japanese machine gun positions carved through the advancing soldiers. Mortars rained down from hidden positions. The wounded screamed for medics who couldn't reach them through the wall of fire. Then the order came. Fall back, everyone off the ridge. Now. Soldiers scrambled down the cliff face using cargo nets and rope ladders, desperate to escape the killing zone. Officers did a head count at the base. 75 men were still up there. Dead or wounded, it didn't matter. They were gone. Except one man was climbing back up. Private First Class Desmond Doss, combat medic, 77th Infantry Division, was going the wrong direction. While everyone else fled down, he climbed up. His captain grabbed him. "Doss! What the hell are you doing?" "There are wounded men up there, sir." "They're dead! Or they will be in minutes. Get down." Doss pulled free. "Please, Lord, help me get one more." He disappeared over the ridge. What followed would become the most extraordinary act of courage in the Pacific War, and it was accomplished by a man who'd never fired a single shot. Desmond Doss had never wanted to be a soldier. Born in Virginia in 1919 to a deeply religious Seventh-day Adventist family, Doss believed the sixth commandment, "Thou shalt not kill," was absolute. No exceptions, not even in war. When Pearl Harbor was attacked, Doss felt compelled to serve his country, but he refused to carry a weapon. "I'm a conscientious objector," he told the recruiter. "I'll serve as a medic. I'll go anywhere, do anything, but I won't kill." Son, in combat, medics carry weapons for self-defense. "I won't carry a weapon. I'll save lives. That's how I'll serve." The Army didn't know what to do with him. They tried to classify him as a non-combatant, but Doss insisted he wanted to serve in a combat unit. They tried to discharge him, but he refused to leave. Finally, they sent him to basic training, figuring the other soldiers would sort him out. They tried. Doss's fellow trainees saw him as a coward hiding behind religion. They hazed him brutally. They beat him. They tried to force him to quit. His sergeant filed paperwork to have him court-martialed for refusing to train with weapons. The charges were eventually dropped, but the contempt remained. "You're going to get us killed," one soldier told him before they shipped out to the Pacific. "When the shooting starts, you'll run. And men will die because of you." Doss said nothing. He just kept training as a medic, learning everything about battlefield medicine, trauma care, and how to keep men alive in impossible conditions. He deployed to the Pacific in 1944. His first combat was at Guam, then Leyte in the Philippines. In both campaigns, Doss proved himself repeatedly, running into fire to drag wounded men to safety, treating injuries under enemy fire, never hesitating. But his unit still didn't trust him. A medic without a weapon was a liability, they believed. When the shooting started, he'd freeze. Then came Okinawa. The battle for Hacksaw Ridge began on April 29, 1945. The ridge, actually a 400-foot escarpment called Maida Escarpment, was a fortress. Japanese forces had fortified it with interlocking caves, hidden gun positions, and pre-sighted mortar coordinates. American forces had to climb cargo nets to reach the top, then advance across open ground into a storm of fire. The 77th Infantry Division attacked repeatedly. Each time, they were driven back with horrific casualties. On May 5th, they tried again. Doss's company reached the plateau and pushed forward. Then Japanese forces counterattacked in overwhelming numbers. American soldiers fell by the dozens. The wounded crawled toward cover, screaming for medics. But the fire was so intense that even reaching the wounded meant certain death. The order to retreat came at dusk. Doss watched his unit scramble down the cliff face, leaving behind the dead and wounded. He couldn't do it. He couldn't leave them. He climbed back up alone. The plateau was hell. Bodies everywhere, the wounded crying out in the darkness. Japanese soldiers moving through the American positions, finishing off survivors. Doss crawled on his belly from one wounded man to the next, treating injuries by feel in the fading light. Tourniquets, bandages, morphine shots, whatever he could do. Then the hard part, getting them off the ridge. He couldn't carry them. He was 5 feet 8 inches and weighed 130 pounds. He couldn't wait for stretcher bearers. They weren't coming. So he did the only thing he could think of. He rigged a rope system. Using rope from supply drops and demolished cargo nets, Doss fashioned a bowline sling. He'd secure a wounded man in the sling, drag him to the cliff edge, then lower him down 400 feet to the base where medics were waiting. Then he'd go back for another. Please, Lord, help me get one more. That prayer became his mantra. After each man, exhausted and terrified, he'd pray it again and go back. Japanese soldiers were everywhere. Doss hid when they passed, waited until they moved on, then continued his work. Several times, they walked within feet of him without noticing. He lowered a soldier down, went back, found another, treated him, lowered him down. Please, Lord, help me get one more. Hours passed. The moon rose. American artillery began pounding the ridge, trying to suppress Japanese positions. Shells exploded around Doss as he worked. He didn't stop. By dawn, Doss had lowered 75 wounded men off Hacksaw Ridge. 75 lives saved in one night. Alone, unarmed, under constant enemy fire. When American forces returned to the ridge the next morning, they found Doss still up there, treating the last wounded man he'd found. His captain stared at him in disbelief. Doss, what did you do? My job, sir. The soldiers who'd called him a coward couldn't speak. The men who'd beaten him in training came to him in tears, apologizing. His sergeant, who'd tried to have him court-martialed, recommended him for the Medal of Honor. But Doss wasn't finished. 3 weeks later, He was wounded by a grenade blast that put 17 pieces of shrapnel in his body. While being carried to an aid station on a stretcher, he saw another wounded man and rolled off the stretcher. "Take him first," Doss insisted. Then he was shot through the arm by a sniper. He splinted his own shattered arm using a rifle stock, the first and only time he touched a weapon in combat, and crawled 300 yards to the aid station. He survived the war and received the Medal of Honor from President Truman in October 1945. At the ceremony, Truman told him, "You deserve this more than any man I've met." Doss lived until 2006, dying at age 87. In interviews late in life, he was asked the same question repeatedly. How did you do it? How did one unarmed man save 75 people under those conditions? His answer never changed. I was just praying the whole time. Please, Lord, help me get one more. And he did. 75 times he did.